The story of the world, a journey of hope, pain, and dreams. Chapter 1. In the beginning. Before the first word was spoken, before the first fire was lit, the earth was silent. It was a canvas of mountains, rivers, forests, and skies that stretched without end. Animals roamed freely, the ocean sang to the winds, and the stars burned quietly above. But the earth was waiting for someone who could see its beauty, give it meaning, and write its story. And then, humanity was born. The first humans were fragile creatures. They had no claws, no sharp teeth, no strong muscles compared to the beasts around them. Nights terrified them, the growls of predators echoing in the distance, the thunder rolling across the skies. But inside these fragile beings, there was something no other creature carried: imagination, a spark of thought, a dream of tomorrow. They lifted their eyes to the stars and whispered in wonder, "What are those lights? Who made them? Can we ever reach them?" They felt the warmth of the sun and said, "It gives us life. It keeps us alive." At first, survival was all they knew. They hunted small animals with stones, gathered fruits, and hid in caves from storms. Yet, survival was never enough. Their minds were restless, their hearts hungry for more. One night, as cold winds blew through the darkness, someone struck two stones together. Sparks flew. A flame was born. For the first time, the night was not endless darkness. For the first time, humans felt warmth that did not come from the sun. For the first time, beasts stayed away from the light. Around the fire, people gathered. They laughed, they shared food, and they told their first stories. A father said to his son, "Do not fear the night. Look, the fire protects us." A mother whispered to her daughter, "Tomorrow we will live. Tomorrow we will dream." The fire was more than heat. It was courage. It was imagination. It was hope. They began painting on cave walls, drawings of animals, hunts, and dreams. It was humanity's first art, their first attempt to say, "We were here." They were weak compared to lions and tigers. They were slow compared to wolves and horses. But they had something greater, the ability to dream together. And perhaps the most powerful discovery of all was love. A mother gave her last food to her child. A friend risked his life to protect another. A father worked through pain so his family could live. Love became humanity's shield. Stronger than fire. Stronger than stone. Stronger than fear. And so, the first chapter of the world was written, not with books, but with fire, family, love, and dreams. The earth had begun its story. And so had we. Chapter 2. Fear, Fire, and First Dreams. As centuries passed, humanity grew. They spread across the earth, walking deserts, sailing rivers, climbing mountains, and facing storms. Everywhere they went, they carried with them the memory of fire and the courage of family. But life was never easy. Storms tore down their shelters. Hunger returned again and again. Fear followed them like a shadow. At night, the forests shook with the roars of lions. Thunder rolled across the skies like the anger of unseen gods. Lightning struck trees and set them aflame. Fear was everywhere. But from fear came courage. From fear came imagination. When humans saw the stars, they began to dream of gods who lived in the sky. When they saw death, they dreamed of an afterlife where souls would live forever. When they felt love, they dreamed of eternal bonds that even death could not break. These dreams became stories. Stories became traditions. Traditions became beliefs. Around the fire, elders told the young, "Be brave. Work hard. Take care of your people. One day, the gods will reward us. Children listened wide-eyed. They learned not only how to survive, but how to hope. But humanity was not only afraid of nature, they were also afraid of each other. Disagreements led to fights. Fights led to battles. Some groups of people wanted more land, more food, more power. And so, the seeds of conflict were planted. Yet, alongside conflict, there was progress. Humans learned to farm the land. They planted seeds and watched food grow from the soil. Villages formed. Families stayed in one place instead of wandering endlessly. With farming came time. Time to think. Time to tell longer stories. Time to dream of bigger things. The story of humanity was no longer only about surviving each day. It became about building a future. And so, from fire, fear, and the first dreams, humanity stepped into a new chapter, the Age of Kingdoms. Chapter 3: Kingdoms and Wars. The world changed. Small villages grew into towns. Towns grew into cities. Cities became kingdoms. And kingdoms dreamed of becoming empires. Humans built walls of stone to protect themselves. They raised towers to watch the horizon. They built palaces where kings and queens ruled with pride. For the first time, humanity felt powerful. They tamed horses, forged weapons of iron, and built ships to cross the seas. But with power came greed. And with greed came blood. Kings wanted land. Emperors wanted gold. Leaders wanted the world. And so, armies were formed. Soldiers marched. Swords clashed. Blood spilled on the soil of every continent. The story of humanity became a story of wars. Imagine a battlefield long ago, the air thick with smoke, the cries of the wounded rising into the sky. Brothers fighting brothers. Fathers never returning home. Children waiting by the door, hoping to see their parents, but seeing only silence. Yet, even in the darkness of war, humanity showed its light. Soldiers shared bread with enemies who had become prisoners. A wounded man was carried not only by his comrades, but by strangers. Even in battle, there were moments of mercy. And in the hearts of those at home, there was always one prayer: please, bring them back alive. Wars destroyed much, but they also taught lessons. Kingdoms rose and fell, but people learned that power without kindness was empty. Victory without peace was meaningless. And in the ashes of war, new dreams were always born. Poets sang about love. Mothers whispered stories of courage. Teachers told children that tomorrow could be different. The world learned slowly, painfully, that swords could not write the future. Only hope could. And so, humanity marched forward, carrying scars of war but also carrying dreams of love, faith, and stories yet to come. Chapter 4: The Age of Wisdom. When the dust of wars settled and the echoes of swords faded, humanity discovered something more powerful than weapons: knowledge. In small schools beneath trees, in temples of stone, and in libraries filled with scrolls, humans began to ask questions. What is the universe made of? Why do the stars move across the sky? What is the meaning of life? Great thinkers rose from every land. In Greece, philosophers like Socrates asked people to question everything. In India, sages meditated beneath trees, searching for truth within the soul. In China, teachers like Confucius taught about harmony, respect, and family. Knowledge spread like fire. Slowly, people learned about numbers, stars, medicine, and laws. They discovered how the heart beats, how the earth moves, and how the sun rises each day. But wisdom was not only found in books. It was found in stories. Parents told their children, "Work hard, be kind, and leave the world better than you found it." It was found in songs sung by farmers as they planted seeds, in prayers whispered by mothers at night, and in the sacrifices of people who gave their lives for justice. Wisdom became the light that guided humanity through the darkness of fear and war. But even as knowledge grew, pride returned. Some rulers believed wisdom belonged only to the rich. Some kingdoms burned books to silence new ideas. Some leaders feared the truth. Yet the truth could not be killed. A single spark of knowledge always survived, waiting to light the fire again. And so, humanity entered an age where knowledge became power, and wisdom became the dream of the world. Chapter 5. Explorers and Dreamers. The world was wide, and humans were restless. They wanted to see what lay beyond the mountains, beyond the seas, beyond the stars. And so, explorers set sail on wooden ships, carried by winds and courage. They crossed oceans, discovered new lands, and met new people. Some came with open hands, sharing stories, gifts, and friendship. Others came with weapons, greed, and chains. The age of exploration was both wonder and tragedy. Imagine a young sailor standing at the edge of his ship at night. The stars above him, the endless sea below. He whispers, "Where does this ocean end? What world waits for me tomorrow?" For some, exploration was hope. For others, it was heartbreak. Entire civilizations were crushed under the boots of conquerors. Cultures disappeared, languages silenced, and lives destroyed. But in the meeting of worlds, something new was also born. Ideas traveled across oceans. Foods, music, inventions, and knowledge spread. Humanity began to see itself not as many small worlds, but as one connected world. Explorers were not only those who sailed seas. Some explored the skies with telescopes, searching the stars. Some explored the body with medicine, searching for cures. Some explored the heart with poetry, searching for meaning. They all had one thing in common, a refusal to accept limits. And so, the world grew both larger and smaller. Larger, because new lands and skies opened before us. Smaller, because we began to see that all people shared the same fears, the same love, and the same dreams. The dream of the explorer was simple. There is more, and we can reach it. Chapter 6. The Age of Struggles. But while explorers dreamed, millions of ordinary people lived lives of struggle. The farmer bent his back beneath the sun, working from dawn to dusk, just to feed his family. The mother gave her last bread to her child, going hungry herself. The worker in dark factories breathed smoke and dust, building cities he would never live in. History often remembered kings and generals. But the true story of humanity was written in the tears, sweat, and blood of ordinary people. It was the soldier who cried in the mud, missing his home. It was the slave who sang songs of hope in chains. It was the woman who fought for her right to learn, to vote, to dream. It was the child who held on to hope, even when the world gave him nothing. This was the age of struggles, not only against hunger and poverty, but against injustice. Brave voices rose. Some fought against slavery. Some fought for freedom. Some fought for equality. Many were silenced. Many died. But their voices never truly disappeared. They lived on in the hearts of the people. And even in the darkest times, small acts of love lit the way. a stranger sharing food with another, a teacher giving free lessons to children in secret, a neighbor protecting a family not their own. These were not small acts. These were the seeds of a better world. And so, through pain and struggle, humanity learned the greatest truth. The world changes not only because of kings, but because of ordinary people who refuse to give up. Chapter 7. The Age of Revolution. The world was changing faster than ever before. The spark of rebellion lit up across continents, carried not by kings, but by ordinary people who demanded freedom. Farmers, workers, and thinkers began to ask, why should a few rule over many? Why should some eat like kings while others starve? Why should one man be master and another be slave? Revolutions were born. In some lands, people tore down thrones and demanded democracy. In others, they fought for independence from foreign rulers. The sound of gunfire mixed with the cries of freedom. But revolutions were not only fought with weapons. They were also fought with words. A poet's pen, a journalist's article, a philosopher's book, these became weapons sharper than swords. They inspired people to rise, to believe, to fight for change. The cost of revolution was high. Streets ran with blood. Families were torn apart. Dreams of freedom sometimes ended in new forms of oppression. But something powerful remained, the belief that ordinary people had the right to decide their own destiny. In factories, workers marched for fair pay. In homes, women raised their voices for equality. In schools, children of the poor demanded the same right to learn as the children of the rich. The world would never be the same. The Age of Revolution taught humanity that power could be challenged, that injustice could be broken, and that freedom was worth fighting, and even dying, for. It whispered to every heart, you are not powerless. You are part of history. Chapter 8. The Age of Invention and Wonder. After fire and stone, after empires and revolutions, came a new kind of power, the power of invention. Machines roared to life. Steam engines pulled trains across lands. Ships of iron crossed oceans faster than ever before. The telegraph carried messages across continents in seconds. Light bulbs lit the night, turning darkness into day. For the first time, a child born in a small village could dream of a future beyond the fields. Factories created jobs, cities grew, and new opportunities opened. But invention was not only about machines. It was about imagination. Writers dreamed of flying machines long before airplanes existed. Painters captured emotions on canvas that words could not describe. Scientists looked through microscopes and telescopes, discovering worlds too small and too far for the human eye. And then, one dream became real. Humans took to the skies. The Wright brothers' fragile airplane rose from the ground for a few seconds, but in those seconds, centuries of dreams were fulfilled. The world gasped. If humans could fly, what else was possible? But invention was a double-edged sword. The same factories that gave life also filled skies with smoke. The same machines that built cities also built weapons of destruction. The same science that cured disease also created bombs that could wipe out entire cities. It was an age of wonder, but also of fear. Humanity held in its hands the power to create paradise or destroy itself. And yet, through it all, one thing was clear. Humans would never stop dreaming. A scientist in his lab, a child looking at the stars, a mother telling her child, "You can be more," all carried the same message. The future is ours to shape. Chapter 9. The World at War. The 20th century opened with dazzling lights, cities glowing, factories roaring, airplanes rising. and inventions blooming. Humanity had conquered so much. But beneath the glow was a storm. Nations grew greedy. Leaders dreamed not of peace, but of power. Borders became cages, and flags became excuses for hatred. Then came World War I, the war to end all wars. Young men left homes, believing they were fighting for glory. They found instead mud, trenches, rats, and endless death. Fields that once grew wheat now grew only barbed wire. The world bled, and millions never came home. When the guns finally fell silent, people swore, never again. But history had other plans. 2 decades later, a darker shadow rose. World War II. This was not just a war of armies, but of ideologies, of hatred pushed to its ugliest extreme. Entire cities burned. Families were torn apart. In the silence of camps, millions of innocent lives were erased. The world shook. For the first time, humanity created a weapon so powerful it could wipe out entire cities in seconds. When the mushroom clouds rose above Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the world realized mankind now held the power not just to kill each other, but to end itself. And yet, even in the darkest nights, there were lights. A soldier carried his wounded friend through fire. A mother hid strangers in her basement, risking her life to save them. Ordinary people became heroes. When the war ended, humanity looked at the ruins and said, "We must build, not destroy." Nations formed the United Nations, vowing to protect peace. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was born, declaring that every person, no matter their race, faith, or nation, had dignity and rights. The scars of war ran deep, but out of ashes, new dreams rose. Chapter 10. The Hope of Tomorrow. The wars ended, but the story of the world did not stop. A new age began, an age of both wonder and challenge. Men walked on the moon. Satellites circled Earth, connecting voices across oceans. The Internet was born, turning the world into one village. But with every miracle came new fears. The climate began to change. Forests fell, oceans rose, and species disappeared. Technology grew so powerful that it often outpaced wisdom. And yet, the greatest story of the world was not machines. It was still people. A child in Africa opening a book under a single lamp. A teacher in Asia teaching children to dream bigger. A doctor in South America saving lives in a small village. A protester in Europe standing for justice. A scientist in North America working to cure disease. The world is still full of pain, poverty, inequality, war, but also full of voices that whisper, "We can do better." And maybe that is the true story of the world. Not just kings, not just wars, not just machines, but the ordinary people, mothers, fathers, children, dreamers, who carried hope in their hearts through every age. The story is not finished. It is still being written by you, by me, by every human alive today. What will tomorrow hold? No one knows. But if history has taught us anything, it is this. Humanity has fallen 1,000 times, but has always risen again. From the caves to the stars, from the sword to the screen, from whispers around a fire to voices across the internet, humanity continues its endless journey. And in the end, perhaps the greatest line in the story of the world is this: globe showing Europe Africa, as long as we dream, the world will never be without hope.